Hey guys, Charles from Haltz Boots here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Phantom GX Low Elite in the Link colorway. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and unbox these GXs real quick. There is no LE for limited edition, so are these actually limited edition? Are they not? Who really knows? I've heard that they are, I've heard that they're not. I've heard it's been called like a loose limited edition release. It sold out pretty fast in all popular sizes on soccer.com, so I'm assuming it did everywhere else as well. Does that just mean they didn't have as many, or just they sold that quick? I couldn't really tell you. So we'll go ahead and open these. They did keep it the standard silver box, so that just kind of, to me, seems like it's not limited edition. And check these out. These are pretty cool. I really have always been a sucker for when Nike does the rainbow multicolored knit uppers, and they just impressed me again with this. I don't know if gray was the right color to go with the GripKnit, but overall, I still think it's a solid colorway. I think it's going to be either a boot that people really love or people really hate, and there won't be anybody who's in the middle. And I can see why. It's got that new Phantom GX sole plate with the star, I think it's like star something studs. I can't remember. I'll get into it in the tech specs, but they're on the Superflies and Vapors as well now. It did include just a string bag like most Nike Elite models have. This one just seems, it's almost see-through. If you can see my hand in there, and you can see the Phantom logo on the back. But not the bag I would have paired with this boot, to be honest. I figured they would do like a rainbow style or something, but I mean, can't really complain too much. It's always cool to get a boot bag. I don't actually know anyone who uses their boot bag, so sometimes when people ask, at least for our website, are you selling the boots with the boot bag? Sometimes they come with it, sometimes they don't, and I've never understood why that's a game changer. Could just be me, could just be that people want to have a complete set when they get a pair of boots. Couldn't really tell you. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the tech specs for this boot right now. Hey guys, real quick, before we go any further into this video, make sure you check out our website, haltzboots.com, where we have tons of boots ranging from retro to the newer models. So head over there, use discount code YouTube for 5% off your next purchase. All right, so jumping right into the tech specs of the Phantom GX, and probably the selling point of this boot is the GripKnit on this. So earlier when I was talking about the gray color that I wasn't sure matched well, it was this whole section of the upper right here is the GripKnit upper, which is basically just a bunch of yarn and knit together, and then they added a coating over it. And this is just supposed to help you with just control the ball when hitting a pass, long ball, maybe a shot. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it's definitely one thing I'm looking forward to test the most. So I'm definitely excited for that. So with the GripKnit, it is actually part of a 2-layer upper. So you have the actual knit upper here. It's kind of like rainbow color, and then it gets darker on certain areas of the boot where it has the Nike skin coating or just Nike coating. I'm not sure if it's still Nike skin anymore. So you actually have 2 pieces, and we might actually get a pair of GXs just to take apart and actually see if there's more of this knit upper underneath the GripKnit or not. So I was reading an online review, I can't remember where from, but it was saying how the GX has a pointed toe box, and to be honest, I think they got that wrong. If you go back to the GT2, you can see it's definitely more pointed than the GX, and I think the GX is just rounded a bit more, and it's not as pointy, which is something I personally like. A thing I disliked about the GT2 was the very pointy toe. I hate looking down, and it just feels like I have a really long triangle or something in the toe box. So I'm definitely glad they rounded it off here a bit more. Another new feature with the Phantom GX is the tri-star studs. And you've got 5 of them here, so you have 2 towards the heel area, and then you have 3 in the forefoot, mixed in with conical studs. I don't think this boot will be bad for turf. I know they make an AG version. I'm mostly gonna be testing this on AG just because it's still really cold here up in Michigan, and I don't have any grass pitches right now, so it's all just inside and on turf. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated in the second half of the video when we do the how the on-feet review went, but I think this sole plate will just be fine. I'm not sure if these studs will actually help when it comes to more traction or more kind of just reaction or cutting when you're on the ball. I find that sole plates really don't matter regardless of how aggressive they say they are, unless the turf is either really bad or it's just kind of a bad turf or your studs are too long. So I have heard a lot of people say they're worried about the durability of the Phantom GX, and it could just be because of this GripKnit upper. Really, it's going to depend on how well it stays glued in or molded into the sole plate. So that's one thing I'm definitely gonna try to do, is just really wear in these boots as quickly as I can, so I can kind of give a better synopsis on if I think that this boot is a bit more fragile or if it still is just as durable as the GT2s, which in my opinion, I thought held together pretty nicely. So in terms of how much this boot cost, this low cut version was $250, and the DF version, or with the high collar, that's going to be $275. Now, I know this boot sold out almost immediately on most retailers and all the good sizes, so you'll probably end up paying retail, which might be around the same price, or maybe $50 to maybe $100 more. It's really hard for me to tell, just because this boot hasn't had enough time to hit the resale market yet. I know most of the resellers I've seen are going anywhere from $350 to sometimes $400 for the boot that retails at $250. So I guess that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of trying to get this specific colorway. So I think in terms of major retailers stocking the GX, they've been struggling a lot lately. And it's the same thing that happened with the Tiempo 9. If you guys can remember, it was just almost impossible to get your hands on a pair of Tiempo 9s the first few colorways. I want to say the first 2 or 3, and then after 3 to 4 months, it was pretty easy to get the Tiempo 9. So I just think that's the thing with the GX. I've been telling a lot of people, like, unless you really, really want this boot and aren't able to get it from a retailer, just wait a few more months. You may not get the exact color you wanted, but if you really don't want to pay $350, $400 for a $250 boot, I'd say just be patient. Now, if you do want to go spend that money, this is a good boot from what I've heard, and towards the end of the video, I'll kind of give my thoughts, as well as if I would spend that much money to get this boot if I was only able to pay like resale for it. So stay tuned for that as well. So one last thing I want to talk about is, could this boot possibly be a remake for the old school Proximo X in the multi/mulberry colorway? And the only reason I say this is because if you look at this boot here I showed earlier, it's got the knit here and it's exposed, and then you can see it kind of darkens when they add that layer on there. And so if we look at the OG multi Proximo X colorway, it does the same thing. Now the threading's a little bit different. It's a little bit thinner here, and there's a bit more fine, so there's a ton more threads versus the GXs, but these still do the same thing with the Nike layer or the Nike skin. So could it be a remake? Could it just be like a little throwback to them? Potentially. I think if they would have done it, they shouldn't have done it with a boot that has the GripKnit, just so it's the full upper, but who knows? I really enjoyed this boot. I really love this colorway, so I kind of did like that they brought it back with this boot as well. So I just wanted to give my my hopes for these going into the on feet review real quick. The only thing I'm really hoping is that the toe is not too long. Sometimes I struggle with Nike wearing a 9, but just because of my foot shape, I either have to wear a 9 so the width is good, or I have to go with an 8.5, but it hurts my feet just so I don't have any extra room in the toe. And then just this GripKnit material, I'm really excited to try this out. So my only expectations are that the GripKnit delivers, and that's pretty much it. The lockdown on this boot, I would say, is decent. I did have an issue where I jumped up in the air to win a header, came down and landed kind of like sideways like this, and I felt my whole foot like shift on the inside. So like I didn't roll my ankle or anything. It just initially, like, the boot came like that, and it was a bad landing, but I did feel my whole like heel shift in it, and that wasn't comfortable. It was a little surprising. I did have true socks on, so I've never had that issue before with most boots, unless it's like a leather boot or I don't have like grip socks on. But these boots are really hard to take off when you unlace them and you're done with your session or your game. So I would say that the lockdown is decent, but I did have that one point, at least personally, where it slipped. But I didn't have any issues in the boot slipping, cutting, sprinting, you know, when I landed normal, I guess. So could just be a fluke, just by experience. In terms of the sole plate, I thought it performed pretty well. It is a little flexible, but not too bendable to where you feel like you have no support. There's not a lot of snapback, but that's not really what I look for in a boot, so no complaints there. The star stud, tri-star studs performed pretty well on turf. There was one point where I felt like, so I started off on the ground, and when I came up, I felt like my boot catch, but that's when I was like lying flat on the ground just to do some like plyo and agility stuff. So in that, I really felt it catch, because these two studs were fine, but I felt it catch here and then like up here. So
They're a little aggressive. I mean, it is, you know, a 3-pronged stud, so it's going to give you a lot more grip. And on turf, sometimes that's not exactly what you want. Overall, though, when I wasn't doing anything like out of the ordinary, these performed just fine. Didn't feel too grippy or too aggressive. So I think you'd be fine wearing these on turf. I do at some point want to try the AG version of these. I just got this colorway to test out because it's my favorite so far of the, I want to say there's like 5 or 6 colorways out now. So hopefully I can give an update on that in a couple months and just kind of compare the two on turf and whatnot. But overall, yeah, good sole plate overall. Nothing super spectacular, but nothing bad. So the GripKnit was the kind of highlight of this boot, what everybody was excited to try. And to be honest, it did perform really well. I did feel that hitting a ball, striking a ball, I had a lot more control of what the ball would do. Most of the on-feet portion, if not all of it's just going to be shots. I didn't record the first half of the session just because there was just a lot going on. But you definitely can, I don't know if you can tell from the video, but I definitely could feel, even last night playing, you know, when you wanted to, like an outside the foot pass, it just grabbed onto the ball and you're really able to just whip it where you want it to go. Long balls even, it just really felt like if you wanted to ping a long ball and you want to maybe put a little bit of swaz on it, or you just want to hit it dead, like, this GripKnit is definitely a technology I'm impressed with. It did give a bit of like the Predator Edge vibes in terms of like grippiness. I felt that if anything, the Predator Edge was too grippy with its rubber fins completely coating the boot. Like I would juggle just doing just a little bit of backspin on the ball, and I would find I'd be like hitting myself with the ball, just normally juggling. With these, I didn't really find that an issue. I didn't really juggle a whole lot with these, but I also didn't notice any issues in terms of that. So overall, this GripKnit technology, I would probably rate pretty high in terms of like a grip element added to a boot. So I'd probably give it, I don't know, like an 8 out of 10 in terms of grippiness. So yeah, it was definitely really fun to try though. So my overall thoughts, I wasn't necessarily looking forward to trying these or dying to get my hand on a pair, but I also wasn't against it. I was able to get this colorway. I got pretty lucky, so I figured I might as well test it out. It is a good boot. I think it's definitely above like the average. It's not a boot that I think I'll wear a whole lot though, or even keep in my normal rotation or my personal rotation. It's just one of those boots where it's really cool, but that's it. You know, it's cool. It's a good boot. The GripKnit is super nice, but I still really prefer leather boots in my rotation for the most part. This doesn't have an upper like the F50 tongue or the Vapor 11 where it really feels like a synthetic spongy material. And why would it? Because this is a knit upper. So it's not something that I will get more of unless it's the AG to test. Although it was a good boot. Don't get me wrong. I think if this is a boot you want to try out, definitely get a pair and definitely try this GripKnit. It's not something I would say is worth paying over retail. The supply chain getting these is bad. So a lot of times you're seeing them resell on either eBay or other like Instagram sellers, which I'm not hating on them getting these and selling above retail because there is a demand for these, don't get me wrong, and I'm not gonna hate on someone's hustle, right? But I don't think it's worth paying $100 more just to get your hands on these boots. I promise they'll start to become more readily available. Same thing happened with the Tempo 9. Now you can get Tempo 9s whenever you need. So I would say, unless you're super dying for a pair, if you're really willing to shell out an extra $100, $250 for these whenever they're available at a retailer, either near you or online, is sufficient enough. And you'll probably have to wait a few more weeks really. So overall, this boot I would give, I don't know, a 7.5, 7.5, 7.4. It was definitely cool, definitely a great boot, but again, it's just a great boot. You know, it's not like, oh my gosh, I need as many pairs of these as possible for when they're done being made. No. But again, that's just my opinion. So if you don't like that opinion, I'm totally okay with that. I know Noah Cavanaugh absolutely loves this boot, and this is one of the only boots he's been wearing lately, and that's one of the best reviewers on the market. So, you know, it just kind of shows our difference in opinions. And his foot, we actually almost have the same foot shape, fun fact. I think his foot is slightly longer though. So a size 9 fits him snug, whereas it doesn't quite fit me snug, almost. So just a little bit of comparison for you. But overall, yeah, 7.5 out of 10. Nothing super crazy, but overall, pretty good boot.